All right.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for tuning in again to Energy Inc. and Thrive Live, where we are talking to real people with real situations and real stories and real solutions. I got to make sure I get it right, right? Real people, real stories, real solutions. And so I'm Daryl, and Reverend Daryl, and I am with Energy Inc. And so glad that you could be with us. And my wonderful co host today, Tawana Lee, is back with us. Tawana, say hello to the folks.
Good evening, everyone.
And
Nice to
so
see you.
we are glad that you're here. We are really working using this podcast as a means to get the word out to decrease the stigma associated with mental health, substance use, and other kinds of things going on in our communities. We really want to build our communities up stronger. And we've got some great activities and great events that are going on in our community. We want to lift that up. But we like to talk to real people to let us tell what's really going on, not just those of us that do things in the industry, but we want to talk to people that are here and what their lived experiences are. And so today we have a wonderful guest with us, and she is known very well to our co-host Tawana Lee. And I'm going to give Tawana Lee the opportunity to go ahead and introduce Mimi to us.
So, good evening, Energy Inc. live audience. So yes, this is my friend known as Mimi, but her name is Michelle. I called her in last minute. I'm going to let her share her story. She and I have known each other since the seventh grade, so that tells you we have a lot of history. You may see her, those of you who are familiar with my own channel, you may have seen her on my channel as well, Real Ram T. Lee. So I'm going to let Mimi dive in and share whichever story that she would like to, and she'll have a lot for us. So please enjoy. Daryl and I have had quite a day today out there doing that work.
Yes,
So
we have.
let
We were
me
at
take
the
over for a minute while we catch our breath while we were at a conference
we were
today.
at the DC Engage first annual inaugural harm reduction conference today, put on by Health HIV, supported by DC Health and other entities, and it was an awesome event. We're not saying it because we're also partially funded by Health HIV for this work, but because it really was well put together, and we're really proud to be a part of the network of folks that are doing this kind of work in community. Mimi.
Mm. Wow. Yeah, I heard about you guys going to the conference and you guys attended at Gallaudet University today.
Yes.
That's where my son goes to college because he's deaf. So
Ah,
yeah. So I told Tawana like they need to start incorporating sign language into all schools to help communication barriers. But so let me start with my my depression stories first of all, because I had mental health issues and I had to seek out a therapist on my own. So first, let me start back. I want to say in 2000, probably I would say 2010 is when I had depression, and I seeked help, and I got over it. But it's not like over it. It's still a challenge. You still have to work at it. I just want to let everyone know mental health is always a working progress. It's never ending like, oh, I'm fixed, I'm cured, and that's it. It's not how it works because it can come and go. So let me go back to 2020 when COVID hit. So I was actually I actually had gotten married in 2017, brought my husband to America in 2019 at the beginning of COVID, because COVID technically started in 2019. And so at the beginning of 2019, I we were great. Everything was, you know, on on track for us as a couple. Then let's say February hit. February hit, and I was pregnant, and I miscarried.
oh,
And when I miscarried, there was a lot of emotions with that. So again, it went to mental health issues for myself because I didn't know how to deal. And then I was dealing with it myself because my husband told me that he wasn't ready for any children, and this is when I told him I was pregnant. He wasn't ready for any children. He didn't want any children, and that I was going to be all on my own if I did decide to have this child. I got all of that. So I got abandonment issues from him. So that also was on top of miscarrying. So my emotions were just everywhere. I didn't know how to deal with my emotions. So most of it would come out in anger or yelling or just upset, not crying because I never cry. That's another emotion that I need to find out why. It's like a trigger, like I can't cry. And I think it was because when I was a kid, my parents used to whoop me and say, "Stop all that crying." And you had to suck it up and stop because you would get in trouble more. So I think that's another issue that I'm still dealing with through therapy. Um, but I think that therapy is such a good tool for people because you get to talk, you get to analyze. They tell you things like, I always used to think, why is it that I'm so nice to people and they're not nice to me? Why they don't treat me like I'm treating them? But in realization, you can't compare people to make them think to act like you would act. So you have to actually accept them accordingly and decide on your own what you want in your life. So I had to really learn a lot of stuff, like trying to understand my husband's culture and understand why he would abandon me at the point of me having, this baby. But now that I'm miscarrying, there's no emotions. Like he doesn't give me emotions to say, I'm with you on this, miscarriage. I feel you. I'm holding you even though you're not crying. Like I know you're in pain. I didn't get any of that. I just was dealing with this by myself. And I was angry because I was like, why am I by myself in everything? And I've been really processing and learning. And in the middle of me growing and fixing it, my mental health, I was realizing like he wasn't healthy for me. He was only about himself. Um, he wasn't patient enough with my mental. Because that's another thing. Like a lot of people don't realize you have to be patient with other people when they're having mental breakdowns, because you don't know where they're at. You don't know if they're on the edge of killing themselves. You don't know where they stand. So you being mean and unkind and not understanding can flip the switch on somebody. And now I'm in the middle of a divorce, but I'm pregnant again, and he has abandoned me again. But at this point, because of me going through therapy and talking with friends and everything, like I'm stronger. I'm able to do it by myself. I really don't need him. He can keep abandoning me. I don't have any mental thinking of trying to harm myself or anything like that. So I'm getting better, but I know that it's a continuous fight. So if anybody want to chime in, you can.
So where does it go from here?
um, where it goes from here is just me being pregnant and teaching my kids about mental health and letting them know like their emotions are important. And if they are feeling a certain way, to speak it out and get it out, and that it's okay to talk to somebody else other than your parent, other than, your friends, because sometimes you need just somebody to actually just sit and analyze everything with you and figure out where what what um what your focus is and why you're focused on it, because there's a lot of things that I didn't realize, like I said when I was saying, he doesn't treat me like I treat him. Like I can't expect him to be me, and I had to figure that out. Like I can't expect anyone to be me.
Yeah. So now did you have the second child?
No, I'm still pregnant. So yeah.
Oh, so this is current.
Yeah, this is current.
Um,
And I was trying to fix my marriage, but then this happened and I got blamed for everything again and he abandoned. So
but you mentioned in the beginning of the podcast you have a son that goes to Gallagher dad. So you had
yes.
some children before this marriage.
Yes, I had two children that are actually grown before this marriage.
Oh wow, and you're starting over. Bless your heart.
Yeah, I know.
You didn't get the message the first two times. No.
I know. Oh my god, because my two kids are with somebody with other people. So like my daughter's 26, my son's 21. So this one, I never married anyone. You know, this was my first marriage, and it was out of the country, and it was a green card, and I swear it's a green card scam because the way he acted on everything, like it really puts in perspective. Like he was really out just to come to America, and that was it.
Yeah, that's unfortunate. And so has he been able to get, because I think it's a process. You don't immediately get citizenship. So
It is
did
a
he,
process.
did
He
he
had a
last
two
long enough to get it?
No, he had 2 year green card, which he was in the process. But at the time that we were supposed to renew, I told him I wasn't going to renew it.
So he's got to get divorced and find some other sucker.
Yeah, but he's out here illegally now, so and
Yeah.
he's just hiding and working underground. So
Well, I'm sorry that you had that experience, but you know, you wouldn't be the first person that kind of got scammed in that kind of way.
right.
And so there may be some lessons in that that you can share with others. But are there other things along the way in your story that have happened? Did you? I know you went through depression. Did you turn to using any alcohol or drugs ever? Any of those
Um,
kinds of things become a part of
I
this story?
did. I actually did. I did turn to marijuana use to try and relax myself.
Mhm.
I thought that it would help with my anxiety attacks, but it actually made it worse.
How so?
It wouldn't get under control. It wouldn't. It was just I was always on edge, and I was just feeling like anxious
So
all the
did you
time.
find yourself smoking more to try to make it work?
I did try, but it made me paranoid and scared, and it was a lot. So I may have had the wrong version of the marijuana because everybody's like, maybe you need to do stevia such and such, and I'm not very good at that stuff. So I was just like, nah, I'd rather not do it anymore. I'll find another way. So I just started meditating more and listening to, I don't know if you guys are religious, but I started listening to more of God's word, the Bible, in the mornings and at night, and I just kind of meditate trying to relax myself.
And how did that help? What was the
that
benefit for you?
actually that actually helps me a lot better because like I actually can it was taking like time to myself and being in quiet areas and not being distracted and actually focusing on my life and not running away from it.
Mhm. And so it
He's
sounds to me like you had a combination of therapy, and did you get medication from you when you were going to mental health treatment?
I was, yeah. And then I actually, I forgot this, I kind of skipped through. I actually got diagnosed with fibromyalgia as well during the process of me being married during COVID. And that was because of all the stress in my body. It makes all my nerves hurt. And it just flared up big time. I've always had it, but it flared up big time. So they had to get me on medication for my flare ups with fibromyalgia, which helps with anxiety and depression, and it's Effexor. So
That's
Ah,
what I was gonna say. If you can
yeah.
describe for people what anxiety feels like
Um. eh,
regularly, and then what anxiety feels like when you're depressed,
mhm.
so that they can tell what's the difference.
Okay. So anxiety when I was going through the anxiety and depression part of it, my stomach would be in knots. Like really, I felt like I was always like something could just literally I could hit my stomach so hard because my anxiety was so stressed out. Like I was so much in the knots. And then like I felt shaky. Like I was always shaky and anxious, and I always had to move and I had to do something. I could never just sit still. I could never just relax. I couldn't find that relaxation point. But then with fibromyalgia and that, it was a little bit different. It was just my body hurt. Everything hurt. Like my fingertips hurt. My chest bones hurt. It was just everything, and I was literally bedridden. I couldn't get out the bed, or when I did get out the bed, I would just pace, and I would just pace and pace and pace. So then I had to get on a Fexer, which made it a lot better. Like a lot, I was a lot calmer. I didn't strip I didn't like tense up so much. It was is calming.
And have you remained on that medication?
Yes.
Yeah. So medication, therapy, and then you did some personal spiritual stuff
Right.
that added to that. And so that's sort of in your world, a combination of those things is what really laid a foundation for helping you move forward.
Correct.
Yeah. So how did your kids deal with all this during this time? We know about how your soon to be ex-husband was dealing with it. How are your kids dealing with it?
They weren't doing very well at all, and I'm still dealing with my kids because they're still going through it. And like when I tell them like, hey, you need to go to counseling, they're like, well, it's so expensive, mom, I can't afford it, blah blah blah, and I'm like, just go. I'm just still trying to tell them because they're 26, they're 21. I can't make them go anymore because they're older. And I just keep on trying to instill to them like it helps, it helps. I'm like, I didn't think it helped when I was young, but now that I started hunting at 20, I want to say I was 22, 23. But when I started, like it helped me getting all my emotions out and figuring out like, why am I a people pleaser? Why am I a codependent? Why? There's so much that I learned that I didn't know because I didn't know about codependency. That I did not even know that they exist. People like, and then I didn't know that, I was allowing people to walk all over me and I was just there and I just deal, even though I didn't want to do it, I did it. And I didn't know how to set boundaries. And now I set boundaries. Now, when my mom upsets me on the phone, I'll just get off the phone so I don't have to say nothing mean to her or upset myself. I just find out like ways out now because I used to not be able to do that. I used to just have to deal. And that's not healthy.
So, what were the things that your therapist or that your doctors have actually diagnosed you with? What were those things that you have an actual? Because you talked about codependency, you talked about depression,
Mhm.
medication for the depression. I want to come back to the codependency thing, but and you talked about anxiety. So I'm wondering, what did they say, if anything?
They had diagnosed me with bipolar, and what is it called? Uh, when you're like extreme manic depression. Yeah,
Hmm.
I had manic depression, and they had diagnosed me with bipolar. So
So it'd be bipolar manic type,
yeah,
with depressive features, probably.
correct.
Um, and so, and any other did your children experience things like ADHD or ADD or any of those things, or did you have any of those things wrapped
I
into?
have ADHD.
Oh, really?
Or
Okay.
yeah, so I actually was taking Ritalin for a while
As an adult or as a child?
as an adult,
Okay.
not as a child. I never was diagnosed with that, but as an adult. And I still take them when I need them, but I don't take them as much no more since I have the Effexor. So it actually has helped me. And then with me meditating has helped a lot too with
Uh,
just slowing my life down. Um
so I know everybody wants to know before we go any further, because you,
uh-huh.
how is your pregnancy?
Oh,
How are you doing?
it's great. It's great. It's great. It's actually really, really good because it actually has taken a lot of my pains away that I was having for my fibromyalgia. So, yeah, it's actually great. And they're saying the baby is thriving and healthy. So,
And
I
so,
don't.
why, as a pregnant mom,
Hmm.
um, I guess that's the only way you would be. That's redundant because you wouldn't be a pregnant dad. But not well. Then again, that is possible. So we
It
won't
could
get
be.
into that because we could talk about our trans siblings. So we're not going to go there.
Right.
But um, have you talked to your doctors about these medications, about both the Ritalin or the Effexor, the effects that
Yes.
they might or might not have on the baby? What are they telling you about that, so that people might want to know there may be someone else in your situation who's
Hmm.
pregnant or may get pregnant and or become pregnant rather and need to take medication. So what's the wisdom that you've been given?
So, for the Ritalin, I had to immediately stop that. That would affect the baby. My night medicine that I was on because I did see a pain doctor, and those were those I had to immediately stop. And I actually have another um, doctor in Boston that keeps track of me because of the early of the pregnancy. I did take my meds, so they were trying to make sure that it didn't affect the fetus in the beginning. So they call me a lot during the time that I was in the first trimester. So they're like, okay, well, when you get to the third trimester, we'll talk to you again. And then when you have the baby, we need all the tests ran for the baby because of the last ones. And I'll think of the names of it in a minute because those are a little bit. I think it's pre-gabablin. I don't know if that's what it is. Pre-gabablin, uh,
GABA, I know GABA,
gabapen or something like that.
gabapentin. Yeah, I know what you're talking
Yeah. So that's one of the ones I had at night. Now the Effexor won't hurt the baby. That you can take all the time. That does not hurt the baby at all. But my night one is I will try and get it if y'all give me a
about.
second.
No, it's you can, or it's.
It's not okay. I will get it to you guys. I will eventually if I think of it because this pregnancy brain sometimes does not work. Okay. So, and you asked me about my kids. Like my kids are really struggling, especially since COVID is, when it went to online learning. My son had to do online learning and he couldn't do it because he was deaf and he just struggled really bad with it. So he had that on top of, me going through my issues with my husband. Like he was seeing everything, and I was trying to hide most of it. I was trying to hide all the issues with my husband, but he was like, why is your husband not here helping you? And he's getting upset because he's thinking, as a married man, you should be helping your wife that's sick, that can't get out of bed, and he's stepping up and doing it for him. And then my husband, in his culture, it's like the kids are supposed to do that. So it was a clash. And my son, I think he still hasn't recovered from that. And that's why he had to take a year off this year. And I've been trying to get him to, he's been working out more. I'm just trying to get him to slowly like learn that talking to someone is good. And then I'm even teaching him how to put up boundaries, even with his friends. Like his friends broke one of his headphones and tried to say he didn't. And I was like, no, he owes you a headphone. If you've seen him break it, he owes you a headphone. So, and then even for myself, like I have to, he has to set boundaries with me as well. And I told him that, like, and I have to respect his boundaries. And if I disrespect him, that I owe him an apology. And I do apologize to my kids. So that way they know accountability is important.
Now you
So
mentioned this one.
yeah, I wanted to go back to
Okay.
Mimi saying that she was a people pleaser and that she didn't know how to react and stuff. So as I said, we've known each other since the 7th grade. So I want her to talk about presentation, right? So for those of us who are watching and we kind of have an opinion of people. So this isn't new. We talked about this on my channel. So I knew Mimi as a fighter. Like Mimi, I would not mess with Mimi. Like I'm gonna stay on Mimi's good side. But
That's how
not
it.
knowing, I'll let her explain like why she did what she did. But I'm like not knowing, like, dang, Mimi be fighting like all the time. Like that, don't mess with that girl. Like she's no joke. And now knowing today, she said why she fought so much, and so it's when you look at people and you have this opinion so I just want Mimi to kind of talk about like presentation so that people can kind of have a different viewpoint on that.
Yeah. Because you're right. Like everyone in school was scared of me, and I don't even know why. Like literally because I would fight. Yeah, but it was always a response to somebody else that did something to me. And when I say I'm a people pleaser, like I please people. Like I can't say no to people sometimes. Like I be like I want to say no, but I just do it just because. And that's where the people pleasing is coming into play. Is that if I want to say no and my whole body's saying, don't do it, don't do it. And I just feel like, oh, I'm going to disappoint that person, or, oh, they're not going to like me, or, oh, and then it's so crazy because when I went to school, I didn't care. I didn't care what it was like. I didn't care if anybody liked me or not. But you could flip it. You could flip the switch sometimes. And that's what I used to do. Is like I used to flip the switch like in school because I didn't want anybody to know that I was a people pleaser. I didn't want anybody to take advantage of me. But my family could. My family definitely could. They would use me up and down, but I just felt like I tried to be so hard on the outside where everybody would look at me and say, "Oh, don't ask me. She don't, she won't do it," because I didn't want to say I couldn't say no to anyone.
So, what was the benefit, do you think, that you got out of being a people pleaser? What was good about it?
Mm. There is nothing good about it. I'm sorry to say, it is nothing good about it. It puts so much stress in my life. It puts so much heartache in me. I used to you know how like you do things for somebody and you have resentment. I would have resentment to people because I couldn't say no.
So, what flipped the script? What made you flip the switch on that?
And the
Um
part, don't forget to add when you answer that,
uh-huh.
also the part where you said that you wasn't never fighting about something that happened now.
Right. Right. Okay, so
So, your best friend will get you.
I know. See how she be telling your business.
Because it's important.
Okay, so but I only fought for a reason. That's the thing. Like, anytime I got angry, it was always for a reason, or I was protecting someone else. That's the thing, and that's another people pleaser thing. Like, you're always standing up for other people, and you don't really, it's not about yourself. But myself, that time that I fought, that she's seen, it was over my own child in my stomach. So I was protecting my own child because I told her she threw the door into my stomach when I was pregnant. And I told her, after I have this baby, I'm coming after you. And that's what I did. But I mean, that's why she's seen me fight before. And anytime that it was always something done to me for me to defend myself. And people didn't realize that because when it happened, it didn't happen immediately. I always came back to do it. So that's probably why they thought the way they thought about me.
So,
But it was always something that happened.
can we back up just a little bit?
Yeah,
How old were you when you had your first child?
16.
16, and your second child came at 19.
Yes. Hmm.
Uh-huh. And so, what was it? Tell us a little bit about the decision to be pregnant at 16.
Ooh, the decision to be pregnant at 16 was I was looking for love. I was looking for unconditional love anywhere. And I knew that having a child would give me that regardless. They would love me no matter what I did, no matter what I looked like, no matter nothing. Like, that was always going to be there.
And is
But
that true? Did it work out that way?
it was rough. It was very, very rough because it was a hard lesson that I had to learn through that whole raising up of my daughter. Like, the fact that I didn't have enough money, the fact that I didn't know anything about parenting, I mean, whew, that was a real tough situation. And my daughter is now paying for that situation for her own mental. And like, I apologize to her. I like, what can I do to make it better for you? Because I know you went through everything with me. You went through me growing up. You went through me not knowing what was right or wrong, or if I decide to say this one day, I decide to change it the next. I I didn't know how to deal. It was awful. It was really bad. And I think that when they have that teen mom stuff on the shows, like, that glamorizes it, but that's not how it is. That definitely is not how life is with a teen or a child at teenage, like, without the money that they're giving them for the show. Like, I had to fight to stay in places. I had to move so much around because I would either get close to being evicted or, you know, it, I couldn't afford that place or, it was just a lot. It was so much headache. And my baby went through so many schools and, her having to change schools, change friends, not really having a solid foundation of friends. There was a lot. And then her dad wasn't around. Like, her dad was being an asshole to her. She's gotten burned from his girlfriend's kids, like because she had to go and visit him because that was mandatory. Like there was a lot. It was so much. Like, and her mental now is still bad. Like she's social. She has social anxiety now. She cries at a drop of a dime. She doesn't know why. She doesn't know, and she was so smart in school. She went through college, got her nursing degree, but then after she finished, she just shut down. She just literally shut down because she doesn't even know if she wanted to be a nurse. She doesn't even know who she is. She didn't get to find out who she wanted to be. And I have to encourage her now, like, find out who you are, enjoy your life, and enjoy everything you're doing right now in the present. And then she's like, I can't speak up for myself and I don't know how to speak up for myself. And that's another thing. Like, again, that people pleasing that I did affected her as well because I would make her do things that she probably didn't want to do when she was little. Like, even when, I don't know if people tell you, like, when people come up to your kid and they're like trying to hug your kid and your kid doesn't really want to hug them, you don't make them hug them. It's like if you make them hug them, you're crossing their boundaries.
So, question as we prepare to wrap up just a bit, because your
Sure.
story is fascinating and there's so many nuances and things, and we could have you back on a couple of times to dig into different aspects of this.
Sure.
But I don't mean dig in a negative, like prying. I
Oh, no,
mean,
no, no.
understand,
And
right?
I'm such an open book now. Like, I've learned that me expressing my story and telling my story, it actually helps me heal too. And it actually helps me feel better.
So, what would you say to someone, young man, young woman, young person, who is looking for love and not feeling love and wanting that love? And what would be your recommendation now if you could tell your younger self where to find the kind of support, where to look for something? What would you encourage them to do now if you were telling your younger self what to do instead of whether it's get pregnant or don't get pregnant? I don't know,
Right.
but
I
you know.
I don't. I mean, me getting pregnant kind of opened my eyes, but it was a struggle, and like I said, it made me do different things differently. But I would say to myself, if I was back in my time that I was not pregnant, I wouldn't get pregnant. I would tell myself to learn to love myself first. Learn what I like to do. Learn, find things that I like. That's what I would do first.
And what do
Is
you mean by
find
loving yourself? What is that? What
loving
does that look
myself,
like for
meaning
someone?
loving myself, like looking at myself in the mirror and actually looking at my face and seeing, oh, this mole on my face, it's so pretty. I actually compliment myself. Or, hey, my eyebrows are thick. Oh, they're sexy. I'm complimenting myself. I'm loving on me. I'm loving my hair. I'm loving everything about me. My face, the shade of my face. I'm black and I love it. Like, I would start loving myself first. That's where you to build confidence. You have to build that confidence first, and then that love will come. That love will come within yourself, and you won't have to be searching for someone to give it to you because you searching for it is not going to be the love that you want. It's only going to be a part-time love, and it's only going to be a sometime love, and it's only going to be 5 minutes of it, and that's it. And you get it every day, every time, every minute, every second if you talk to yourself and love yourself.
And how fair do you think it is to expect your child to become the one that's going to give you unconditional love and
That's
you put
not
them into
fair.
work?
That is not fair. Because not all children are going to love their parents. They don't love the choices we make for them. They get upset. They have every right to be upset on their own, but you still keep your rules, and that's it. But they're not going to like it when they move out. They going to figure it out afterwards and figure out that, you know what, now I understand why my mom said that. Now I understand what my mom is saying. But in the middle of this, it's going to be a rumble. It's not going to be love. It's going to be a lot of fighting, and you can't be your child's friend. And they tell you this, you cannot be your child's friend,
That is
because
not our
being
role
their
as
friend is a downfall.
that's definitely not our role as parents, and people have that mixed up because they need a friend or they need that love still even as adults, and they want to be
Yeah.
their child's friend so they can have that you want to have the adult child relationship when the child is still a child. You have to
When the
wait till
child is
the
still a
child gets to
child.
be an adult
There
and
you
you can
go.
have that relationship, right?
There
But
you
even
go.
then,
Now my
I'm still
daughter,
gonna be daddy. I'm still gonna be dad.
right. Now my daughter,
You
I'm
might
her
be
best
60,
friend
but I'm gonna be
now.
dad.
I'm her best friend now, but before I was the enemy. But
Yeah.
now she's like, "Mom, you're my best friend. I love you so much. I'm thankful for you." You know, and now I got that love. But I mean, it took her to not love me, to appreciate me.
So now, what would you say to the teenager who has just found out I'm pregnant, and for whatever the reasons were, you know,
Hmm.
what would you encourage them to do for themselves and for this child that is not yet born?
Um, to focus on themselves and that child. That's the most important thing at this moment. Um, I didn't mention my daughter had a child at 17,
Oh,
and at that point, I was in depression, and I couldn't help her. I was not capable of helping her because I could barely help my son and her and me at the time. So I told her, like, I can't help you. I had to be honest with her. I can't afford to take care of a grandchild. And I was being honest. So she had to make her own choice for herself. Like, are you going to have it? If you're going to have it, you need to get a job. You know, I had to give her, lay it all out for her. But I also want the child to understand, you need to understand this economy. You need to understand what you're going to be having to forfeit. Like, you're going to be working and working and working and working, and your kid is going to be in daycare, not with you or with your family or with other strangers that you have to put trust in, and you can't trust everyone, because my kids have been molested before, and I had to deal with that. I had to come back and realize I put my kids in danger like that because first I didn't have the support of the father. I made that choice to take care of my own kids. And I had to do what I had to do, and I have to work. There's no way around it. I have to work. So I explained my daughter to write out all the bills, what she had to pay for that baby, what she was going to have to come up with, what she was going to have to give up. She would have to give up probably college for a while, or she could take a couple of classes, but she would still have to be taking care of this baby. And she was like, "Fine, I'm going to do it on my own." And she left. And then she realized the father didn't want nothing. Like, he didn't really want to help her as much while she was even out there just being pregnant. Just being pregnant. He wasn't there to help her. So she came back home and she's like, "I think I need to give this baby up for adoption." She's like, "Because my mental is not good and I don't think that's fair to this baby. And me and the baby dad don't have enough money to do it." So she put the baby up for adoption. But she did do an open adoption. So we do get to see the baby. And the baby knows who she is.
that's a beautiful thing. I do want to say one thing that you said that struck me, and I want to just clarify for you, and as you continue on your healing journey, and for anyone
Hmm.
watching, your children being molested is not your fault.
Yeah, I mean, I try to get that out, but
You
it's
have
so
that's going to
sad.
be something
And
you're going to have to work through in your
yeah,
therapy session. But you gotta, people make choices,
yeah,
and someone else's depravity is not your fault,
right.
right? And so you
But
didn't.
it's other little kids. That's what's so bad about it. It
It
was
is
not even grown-ups. It was other little kids. And so that means that they must have gotten done to them, you know?
right, and that's definitely, and that is even more not your fault. How could you know that kids
Yeah.
would do something, right?
Right.
So, and so I just want to plant that in you for a minute, and you can let
Hmm.
it grow however you can water that and fertilize that, right? But
Right.
like I believe our thoughts can be flowers and bushes and trees that bloom and fruit and flower and do great things, but
That's
they
true.
some of them can be weeds that are insidious and that can choke out the good stuff, right? So
Hmm.
we have to be responsible for going in and taking the weeds out. And the thought that it's your fault is a weed. It is not true, and it's not weed you can smoke. So,
Right.
so it's
Right.
so it's not helpful, right?
Right.
And even on the odd chance that there was any level of truth in it, which there's not, how does it
Hmm.
help you now, right? It what you
Yeah.
have to be able to think about is, okay, these things happen. I
Hmm.
love that you're accountable for the fact that I had to work, I had to put my child in daycare, and as a result of that, me not keeping them with me and not being able to do more things, these things did occur. There's an
Hmm.
accountability of what you've had to do in your life, but it's
Right.
also not a situation where you say, well, you know what? I think I'm going to find the worst place to drop my kids off at and
No.
make sure that they're with kids that have been molested by other people that will
Right.
perpetrate the
You
same behavior.
never know this.
I really want that to happen. So you didn't plan for that to happen.
Right. Not at all.
So it's not your fault, right? And
Right.
you didn't instruct someone to do it.
No.
Uh, and so you that's something for you to continue to work through
Definitely.
and find find some peace with that, right?
Right.
Because as long as that thought is there every time something's going wrong with your children, you're going to
Yeah, it's
let that
hard.
be the reason why. You're going to go back to that in your own mind. Well, if I hadn't allowed this, or if I didn't do this, then that wouldn't happen. And you can't know that. You can't know that something
Very
wouldn't have
true.
happened anyway, in that setting or in another setting, right?
Right.
So give yourself some grace.
Yeah.
You seem so far to have managed through so much,
Yeah.
and what you appear to
That's
be fairly young still.
yeah,
So
I'm 43. So I mean, I mean, I there's a lot that I haven't talked about. Like there's so much.
Oh,
uh-oh.
no.
Sorry, somebody was calling in. Sorry. And like people will be like, "How did you even survive all this?" And I'd be like, "You know what? It's by the grace of God, I swear, because He's the only one that keeps me going and keeping a smile on my face. That's the only way. Because man, I look back and I think about everything I've been through, and I'm like, wow, like I really made it. Like I
You
made
made
it.
it, right? So,
Yeah,
and that's the story.
yeah,
That's the message to anyone that's watching this and sees this again, is that you can still make it,
yeah.
right?
You definitely can. You can
With
make it.
all the trials and tribulations, with somewhat abuse in the family, with bullying as a child, with pregnancy as a teenager, with unsupportive and unavailable fathers of children, with
Yeah,
husbands that are scamming to get a green card and then don't give you emotional support and don't want the
yeah,
kids, and there's going through depression and dealing with anxiety and ADHD, and having children and a child with we'll call special needs, although it's not necessarily
right,
special, but a child with differently abled
right.
in the world of that doesn't appreciate
Definitely.
or know how to deal with that, like you're dealing with that too.
Right.
You've managed through more than most people need to manage in a lifetime. You've got a
Yeah,
few
I think
people's
so.
lives mixed up in there, so I think you should be proud of
Yeah,
where you are today. And what I
yeah,
love about what you're saying, Mimi, is that the journey is not over, that you
yeah.
haven't yet arrived there to an end point, but that therapy continues, that the medication is
Yes.
necessary, talking it out to your children and being loving to them. I think it's what our watchers and listeners will want to know is what, and we can have you back another day. We want to talk about what are you going to do with this new baby that will be different now with all the wonderful things that what are you
Yeah,
intentionally going to do differently to give
I
that
know.
child a different start in life?
I know I'm gonna make this baby set boundaries for first of all. That's automatic. Boundaries are important. So I'm definitely gonna teach them boundaries. I'm definitely going to love on them and try and protect them the best I can, like any other of my children. And just talking to them about everything, like, and going through counseling is a must for me with this baby. It's gonna start real young. Like, we're gonna go to counseling just for them to express their feelings because they may not express it all to me.
Well, you've got some good thoughts, and also don't force them to go to therapy if they don't really want to, because it's not going
Yeah, well, if they don't want to,
to.
but I mean,
But
kids like to play, so hopefully they'll start them.
yeah, a little play therapy is good because people
Yeah,
can watch for
yeah,
behavioral issues and things as they
right.
go, and can catch some stuff early on. So a little play therapy never
Yeah.
hurts anybody, right?
So it doesn't hurt to do the play therapy for right now and then
Absolutely.
see. But like when they get older, they have a choice. Like I've always given my kids choices. Like they all have choices in life because I had choices and I had to make my own choice in life. But I do explain to them the choice you make, you have to stand behind it. And yes, it happened. Now learn from it.
Yeah. Well, I'm so glad to meet you, Mimi.
Oh, good.
And I'm sure that our viewers and those that watch this afterwards, I'm certain that this is going to be a very popular one of our series, that people are going to watch it and like it and share it a gazillion times. So if you're watching
Right.
this, like it, share it, subscribe to our YouTube channel if you're watching us on YouTube, like our page on Facebook. We are Energy Inc. This is our Thrive Live program where we're talking to real people with real stories about real solutions. And so today our guest Mimi has shared with us, and thank you so much, Tawana, for as our co-host here and bringing Mimi to us. And if you are in need of any particular mental health services and you're here in the DC, Maryland, Virginia, DC area, you can call 1-888-7-WE-HELP for the DC Department of Behavioral Health. And so that you can get connected to mental health services for substance abuse disorders and or substance use disorders and any other kinds of programs that you need in that way. You can call 311 to get other kinds of resources and help. You can email us at energyincorporated@gmail.com. That's INNERGY incorporated at gmail.com. And we will connect you to other cares and services. Now, really quick, one quick commercial. This weekend on Saturday, we will be in the Oxen Run Park from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. with the Places of Worship Advisory Board Community Health and Wellness Day. We are going to have great opportunities. Everything there is going to be free. We'll have free food. We'll be giving away fresh fruit and produce. Well, fruit is produce. We're giving away fresh produce. We will be giving, there will be testing services there. We'll have backpacks and supplies for kids for school. There'll be other kinds of testing, of HIV testing, some incentives. There's music. We have Maurice Griffin, up and rising gospel star. You may be familiar with one of his songs on the radio right now, Love, Peace, and Happiness. He'll be with us. Also, the Let It Flow band will be with us. We have the Voices of Peace, the DC Black Voices, Labor Voices. I'm saying their name wrong. I'm sorry. We have Robert Persons. We have Dr. Julie with her puppet show. We have Satiana, who's going to come and do some meditation with us. We have we have the Imani drummers from Imani Temple. Just some wonderful, wonderful opportunities to be there. Some great speakers that are going to come and share with us as well. We are sponsored by the DC Health, the Maryland Department of Health, and the Virginia Departments of Health, along with a whole bunch of other supporters, including the AIDS Healthcare Foundation, Gilead Sciences, all of the medical providers, all the DC Medicaid providers will be there. So if you're not signed up for DC Medicaid and you don't have medical insurance, you can get connected while you're there. There are going to be all kinds of resources. Their DBH will be in the house or in the park, rather. And so hot dogs, hamburgers, fried and baked chicken, fried rice, and greens or string beans or something will be there. And fried fish and fries will be there. All done right there in the park. And there's lots of fun. We're going to have a basketball tournament that's going to happen that day in the morning. And also we're going to have other activities that you can play in, that you can do. So if you're looking for a way to be involved, we would love to have you come down and enjoy. If you want to volunteer, you can also seek us out. You can go to the DC Health /POWAB. Look on that for our flyer and the link. There's a place for you to sign up to volunteer or register in advance to be a part of this great day. If you don't register in advance, you're still welcome to come. You can register in the park Great opportunities, a lot of fun. We're going to have some wonderful activities going on. So we invite you to come out for that. Again, we are so glad that you joined us today for Thrive Live with Energy Incorporated. And Mimi, we wish you all the best. And we are looking forward to hearing great news about the baby. When are you due?
You're muted.
February 26th.
All right. My daughter is on February 20th. So yay. So, happiness to you and pleasant and all the blessings that you can take and store and share to other people around you, to you and your children. Tawana, the same to you. Blessings to the family. And we will see you all again very soon on
Before we
go, Tawana, take us out. Your last word.
Daryl remembered just about everything. That was a great commercial. The only thing that I didn't hear him say is that we will also, I won't be there, but what will also be available there is Narcan training, as well as Narcan will be available on site. So those of you who are, if you're not familiar with Narcan, it's also called Narcolone.
Naloxone.
Naloxone is the proper name for it, but that is the drug that we use to administer to people who are having a drug overdose. Okay, so come out,
an opioid,
some Narcan and some Narcan, huh?
An opioid,
specifically for opioids. Okay. So come out and get you some training.
And we want you to learn this so you can save a life. There are people dying around us every day from opioid addictions, and this medication reverses the overdose and saves lives.
I have a question. Do you have to pay for the Narcans?
No, everything is free.
Oh, that's good, because I would need to find some Narcans just in case. You know,
it's free in most jurisdictions you can get it free at the pharmacist. You can just go and in most places you can ask for it and they will give it to you in the pharmacies.
Yeah, because you never know if you walking down the street something happens.
Yeah, absolutely. That's why we want people to have it in their hands, in their bags, in their purse, in their pocket, wherever you can put it, so we can be a force of healing and help in the community. Thank you, Tawana, for reminding us about that extra piece and that extra caveat. And we will look forward to seeing you all Saturday, if you can make it, in the Oxen Run Park from 2 to 6. Or we'll look forward to seeing you here again on Thrive Live with Energy Incorporated.
Right. Bye.